Hi, this is Geert-Jan from the NetBeans team. In this screencast I want to introduce you to RequireJS. RequireJS is a JavaScript framework that helps you to create large JavaScript applications. It solves a very specific problem which I want to introduce you to via a small demonstration. We imagine we have a sales system. Some kind of thing, some object, a car, whatever it is, will be sent to the user depending on certain conditions. So either the thing is sent to them or sorry is said to them. Whether the thing is sent to them or whether sorry is said to them depends on whether the name passes verification or not. And here the verification is very simple. If the name that is passed in is longer than 1, then the name is verified and the thing that I have bought will be sent to them. What ties these two JavaScript files together is RequireJS. So here we have a JavaScript file that receives a name, some kind of verification is performed, and if the verification succeeds, the thing is sent to them, and if not, sorry is said to them. The entry point to the application is a main JavaScript file which calls the method byThing, passing in a name which has been hard-coded here. So we run the application and the user enters the system, then byThing is called, the user is trying to buy, and then either the verification succeeds or fails, and if it succeeds or fails, either the thing is sent or sorry is said to them. There is a problem with this application and with all applications that make use of JavaScript, and that is that sooner or later you're going to have a very long list of script tags. And that's all fine, except that the order in which these script tags are defined here is very important. So let's say, for example, that our main JavaScript file is first in the list, and you'll see immediately that the application fails because the main JavaScript file is loaded, the byThing method is called. Unfortunately, however, the buyer JavaScript file has not been loaded yet at that stage. So you need to make sure to load the main JavaScript file in this particular situation last. This can become very difficult as your application increases in size, and what RequireJS is for is to handle this for you. You can delegate the ordering of your JavaScript files, the script tags, to RequireJS, and we're going to see how to do that. So we're going to go from our old sales system, which became increasingly unmaintainable, to our new sales system, which has exactly the same code, however structured slightly differently, and including now the RequireJS JavaScript framework. Now, adding that to your existing sales system or whatever it is very easy. You can go to JavaScript files and you can look for RequireJS, and then you will see it, RequireJS, and then you can add it to your application. Once you've done that, instead of having these separate script tags for each of your JavaScript files, you don't need that anymore. You can just delete them, and instead of that you can refer in the source attribute to the RequireJS JavaScript framework. However, importantly, there is a special attribute from RequireJS, which you can see here, available in the code completion and with documentation included, data main, which is the entry point of the application, which we set to scripts main. And what you see here is exactly the same code as before, except that it's been wrapped inside of a require function from RequireJS. So if you look at our old code, compare it to the new code, we'll see that it's all exactly the same. So we'll just split the screen to see the difference, except that this require function has been wrapped around the code that we originally had. And we're saying here that our main JS file depends on buyer. So buyer needs to be loaded first, and once that's available, RequireJS will pass buyer into the main JS file. It could be called anything we like, so you could call it something, whatever it is. Doesn't have to match this name. So what is passed in here by RequireJS is that same JavaScript file that's loaded here, and then you can call the method by thing on it, and then that function will be handled inside of our buyer JavaScript file. So we jump in there and we see again that there is the same code as before, but this time wrapped inside of a define function. In the first place we had a require function, and here we have a define function which is true for authenticator and for thing as well. Define functions in RequireJS you use if you want to be able to refer to these modules in other places. So in RequireJS terminology, buyer is a module, authenticator is a module, and thing is a module, because we have this define function wrapping around the code that we originally had. The require function is used if you want to load something immediately at the starting point of the application. As in the case here, we want to set the name and start off the sequence by letting the user buy the thing and for verification to start happening. So we have wrapped our code inside a require function, and we've said that this main JavaScript file depends on buyer being there. So then RequireJS will load the correct order. We'll say buyer needs to be there, then make main available, pass in buyer. In the case of buyer, authenticator and thing both need to be available, because otherwise authentication can't happen, and otherwise the thing can't be sent and the sorry can't be passed back to the user. So again, here we're saying that buyer depends on authenticator and thing, and that enables RequireJS to pass those two into the function, and we can refer to those directly inside of our code. So again, this could be called whatever we like, and this could be called whatever we like. However, the order of these two should be the same as the dependencies that we've set for our buyer. In the case of authenticator and thing, these two don't depend on anything at all. So we don't need to set any dependencies here. But we wrap them inside of our side of the define function from RequireJS, both of them, so that we can refer to them as modules, as we are doing here, and then call their methods send thing and verify name. What we have avoided via RequireJS is the need to list each of our JavaScript files here, with the problem that we had before of having to make sure that the ordering was correct. Now all we need to say is make sure that the module that we need is available, and RequireJS will just do it for us without us having to think about it. NetBeans in the latest release provides a lot of new features that deal specifically with RequireJS. So you've seen some of these in action, so that includes the hyperlinking that you've seen, jumping from one file to the other. There's special router type functionality configuration, making use of requirejs.config, for which NetBeans has special functionality as well. There's code completion between these different files. And so here you can see the properties in the requirejs.config, which are available in code completion. So everything you need for creating large JavaScript enterprise-y type applications is available in NetBeans, and you can begin using it and creating much more interesting and robust applications that you might have been creating already. Thank you, and have fun with NetBeans and with RequireJS.